There is a strange pattern that some people notice in their relationships. At first, everything seems normal. Conversations flow easily. The connection feels natural. Trust slowly begins to grow. But then something inside starts to change. A quiet discomfort appears the closer someone gets. Part 47 is about the psychology behind why some people push others away, even when they genuinely want connection. On the surface, it may look confusing. You may care about someone, enjoy spending time with them, and appreciate their presence in your life. Yet when the relationship begins to deepen, you suddenly feel the urge to create distance. Sometimes you withdraw emotionally, sometimes you become quieter, sometimes you stop responding as much as before, and sometimes you even create conflict without fully understanding why. From the outside, this behavior can look like disinterest or indifference, but internally, the experience is very different. Inside, there is often tension, uncertainty, and a deep fear that connection might lead to pain. Many people who push others away do not do it because they dislike relationships. They do it because past experiences taught their nervous system that closeness can be dangerous. When someone important gets too close emotionally, old protective patterns activate automatically. The brain begins to remember previous moments of disappointment, rejection, betrayal, or abandonment. Even if the current person has done nothing wrong, your mind quietly prepares for the possibility that history could repeat itself. This preparation can create anxiety that feels difficult to explain. You may start questioning the relationship. Small imperfections suddenly appear larger than before. You might begin focusing on reasons the relationship might fail. Sometimes you convince yourself that distance is the safest option. This is not manipulation. It is protection. The brain is trying to avoid future pain by preventing deeper emotional investment. Part 47 goes deeper into how this pattern often begins early in life. Human attachment develops during childhood through repeated interactions with caregivers and important figures. If those early relationships were unpredictable, emotionally distant, or inconsistent, the brain learns that closeness does not always equal safety. When affection appears and disappears unpredictably, the nervous system becomes cautious. It begins associating connection with uncertainty rather than comfort. As you grow older, this pattern can appear in adult relationships. When someone shows genuine care, part of you wants to trust it, but another part remains skeptical. The closer someone gets, the more your protective instincts activate. Your mind begins scanning for possible threats. Will they leave? Will they lose interest? Will they eventually hurt you? When these questions become overwhelming, creating distance can feel like regaining control. If you step away first, you avoid being the one who is abandoned. This pattern is sometimes described as preemptive rejection. Instead of risking the pain of someone leaving later, the mind convinces itself to create distance now. Part 47 also explores another psychological layer behind pushing people away: vulnerability. True connection requires emotional openness. It requires allowing another person to see your fears, insecurities, and imperfections. For someone who learned to survive by being strong and independent, vulnerability can feel extremely uncomfortable. When another person begins to see beyond the surface, it can trigger a deep sense of exposure. Your mind may begin telling you that it is safer to maintain emotional distance rather than allow someone to see the parts of you that feel uncertain or fragile. Another reason people push others away is the fear of dependence. If you have learned to rely only on yourself for emotional stability, the idea of depending on someone else can feel risky. Dependence creates the possibility of loss, and loss creates pain. So the brain develops a strategy to avoid that risk entirely. Maintain independence, keep emotional boundaries, avoid becoming too attached. This strategy can work temporarily. It creates a sense of control and self-sufficiency, but it also limits the depth of connection that relationships can reach. Part 47 reveals another paradox. People who push others away are often the same people who desire connection the most. They value loyalty, understanding, and meaningful relationships deeply. But because those needs are so important, the fear of losing them becomes even stronger. The mind tries to protect what matters most by avoiding the risk altogether. Unfortunately, this protection sometimes creates the very loneliness it was trying to prevent. When relationships remain distant, the deeper emotional connection you desire never fully develops. Another aspect of this pattern is emotional testing. Sometimes people unconsciously test whether others will stay. They might withdraw temporarily or become distant to see how the other person reacts. If the other person makes the effort to reconnect, it may temporarily reassure the anxious part of the mind. But if the other person responds with confusion or distance, the fear of abandonment feels confirmed. This cycle can repeat itself in multiple relationships without the person fully understanding why it keeps happening. Part 47 moves toward a deeper understanding of healing. Pushing people away does not mean you are incapable of love or connection. It means your mind developed protective strategies during times when emotional safety was uncertain. These strategies were designed to help you survive difficult experiences, but survival patterns are not always helpful once circumstances change. Learning to allow connection again requires patience and self-awareness. It involves noticing when your mind begins creating distance automatically. Instead of reacting immediately to that impulse, you can pause and ask yourself, what emotion is underneath it? Is it fear? Is it uncertainty? Is it the memory of past experiences that still influence your reactions today? Understanding the source of these feelings allows you to respond differently over time. Part 47 ends with an important idea. Pushing people away is often not about rejecting others. It is about protecting yourself. But real connection becomes possible when protection slowly transforms into trust. Trust does not appear instantly. It grows through repeated experiences of safety, honesty, and mutual respect. As those experiences accumulate, the nervous system gradually learns something new. Not every relationship leads to pain. Not every connection ends in loss. And slowly the instinct to push people away begins to soften. Because the mind finally realizes that closeness does not always mean danger. Sometimes it simply means being seen, understood, and accepted for who you truly are.